Hello and welcome to episode 120 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. And finally, it is a really positive episode in the fact that this is our first ever promotion episode. Hopefully, The only time we have a promotion episode again isn't from League One, but we've got a promotion episode to celebrate. This is how it's going to work a little bit this week. We are going to have a normal podcast next week. This is sort of an extra podcast, sort of talking about Wembley and some breaking news right now. And then we've got a feeling the day we're recording this, there's going to be a lot of news to talk about when the normal time slot for the podcast is next week. So within the space of about 4 or 5 days, you're going to have 2 podcasts instead of 1, because I feel like we've got enough for a really good episode here. And then literally probably in a couple of hours time from filming this, or even by the time this one comes out, the retain list and things like that will be out, and we'll have loads more to talk about for the next episode. So feel safe doing a promotion episode and a Wembley sort of breakdown and current news episode today, basically. I'm talking a lot and I'm a bit giddy because I'm still kind of buzzing, Jake. We did it, man. I know.
It feels weird that this Wednesday team that we've all believed in, and it's finally over and stuff. And it's like, it's just the combination of a really good season of what we knew was building into a good season throughout the season. How many times can I say seasons? With them actually coming up with the goods. And the way to do it as well was incredible. And I think, I'm just going to say it, no more sodding Captain Pugwash music at Fleetwood.
Watch us get the first round of FA Cup now. But like, it's James and Jake, Dex and Punk, using screen names there with you today. No Jack, because Jack refuses to buy anything that's not a PC that breaks when you breathe on it. So Jack is missing out on the promotion episode because he is stubborn and won't buy something that works. Oh, I banged my desk and all of a sudden the computer doesn't work anymore. Oh, all of a sudden I turn the computer on and the LEDs, I've got these fancy LEDs, but all of a sudden nothing works and I've got a blue screen. Oh, look, I've got a new feature in the room. It's something that's got fans in it that collects all the dust out of the room. That's handy. Just get something that works, Jack. But yes, just a bit of how... Go on.
It's all sorted. It's all sorted. He should have his PC back, but he's...
Until next week.
He's absolutely bored because he doesn't have a console. He's watching TV. I told him, you need to buy a console for when your PC breaks if it does again, because you can't be this bored.
Even more fun, though. He was meant to be on today. He told Jake he wasn't coming on. He didn't tell me. I'd bloody organise it.
Love you, mate.
Anyway, the fun of the Talking Wednesday podcast there. It's been a hectic week. There's been Wembley. I will say, just getting it out the way, Jake's done some reaction stuff. He was watching the final along here. If you haven't checked that out, check it out on his channel. On this channel, the Talking Wednesday podcast, or if you're already a listener, go across the Dexterity box. So this channel, Dexterity box. If you're a YouTube watcher, just find it. You've probably seen it if you're one of my subscribers, but I did a half an hour vlog, and it's not a normal vlog. It's kind of like a docu-vlog.
Yeah.
So it's got sort of story parts in it, and then it's got a normal sort of match day vlog. It's got match interviews in it. I spent a bit of time on this one. Jack was behind me. It was about 2 a.m. He was snoring as I was editing, right? There you go, Jack. You can't defend yourself on this podcast. I was literally, because we got back to the hotel. He'd sort of gone, I think I'm going to try and go to sleep now. I was like, oh, that's nice for you. As I sat there, because we'd had dinner and stuff and had a couple of drinks. And then I was like, right, I really need to edit this vlog now because I want it out. I wanted to basically do a late night vlog again.
Yeah.
It didn't end up going like that because the amount of footage, I think I took 150 shorter video clips across the actual Wembley day. And for some reason, I didn't feel like I had my phone in my hand a lot because I didn't really. I didn't. At the
I will
match
say
especially.
this though, well, your playoff semi-final, that opening monologue you did was superb. Take a drink, I don't care. Take a drink because it's absolutely brilliant. It set the tone, it set the story, it set it all up lovely. And I've actually done the thing where what's that and then what the Wembley one back to back. And if you've got that story arc, it just blends so well.
I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, no, I wanted to put a little bit of thought into it because these occasions don't happen very often, especially if you're a Wednesday fan. So I was like, what's something that I can make that I can have fun with that isn't going to distract as much as maybe a normal vlog would? Because I didn't want to have my phone in my hand too much at Wembley. I wanted to drink it in. So it's sort of like I took a few set pieces and stuff and kickoffs and things like that. So I knew I'd be able to stitch together the match. But I didn't want to just stand there with my phone in my hand because, to be honest, I was too nervous during all of that. But yeah, it was really nice to put together. Obviously, having Jack's takes in there because he's not. I was like, oh, do I do the vlog? Not put Jack in it? Can you imagine like staying with it? It was comedy gold, basically. Jack says some really stupid stuff. I've had to edit a lot of the really stupid stuff out.
You're a good double act though. Well, what was starting to come across as you two are a very good double act when it comes to it.
It's more a case of me just sighing at him all the time, and I think that's probably part of it. Yeah, like, oh God, not again. Not again. But no, it was a really nice trip. Really enjoyed making that vlog. Go check it out if you haven't checked it out already. But yeah, also housekeeping. Do you know what? While we're riding on this high, guys, I can't speak. I still can't speak. I thought I'd got my voice back. We've delayed. We were going to do this yesterday, but like,
you're still stunned with what happened.
Exactly. Professionalism out the window. But if you're ever going to leave a review for this podcast, why not do it while we're on a high? We started this podcast during a relegation season. We are now back up after a lot in the middle of it. So if you can go over to Apple Music, Podchaser, things like that, I will put the links in the description. I'll even try and do it in audio feeds if I'm able to do that. So just check the description of this video and audio podcast. Go and leave us a review, a nice 5-star review. That'd be an amazing time to do it, and we will read them out on the next episode. It might not be the very next episode, but it will be one of the next couple of episodes. So please go and do that. It will help us massively on audio feeds, as we are now going to be a championship podcast again. It's been a while. Yay!
Also, really good news. No more Pizza Cup.
I know. The League One review goes. The pizza review goes. We don't have to talk about the League One fixtures. We don't want to talk about, Forest Green might surprise a few this season.
We've also got the other thing where there is a bit. You'll get the international break, which ain't great for the podcast, but we can come up with some ideas to do with the community, hopefully.
Yeah, it was for some reason League One was structured in such a weird way that it was hard to not
intense.
All the write-ins. It was hard to not go down a negative debate route, and we are going to bring like some of the debate topics back and things like that. Basically, a new life comes with a new season, so there's going to be some exciting stuff on this podcast next season. So stick around, and if you are new here and you've joined from the recent content that you've seen on my channel, because I know I have gained quite a few subscribers from that, so welcome. And if you are checking out the Talking Wednesday podcast, thank you. We're going to have a fun season, and we're going to get you all involved as much as we possibly can, like we used to, because the core of this podcast, we always said it was community, news, speculation. That's the way this podcast works. So,
I think the problem with League One, it's very hard to do that because it's, like I said, it's so intense. There isn't that little break where you could plan something to get it involved. And because it's a weekly series, it's harder, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's probably it as well. The lack of international breaks, things like that. It's there's no sort of refresh time where we could do that. And I think it helped before when we started it. We would start in it during a time where everybody had a lot more time on their hands, so you could put a different thing into it. But I think I'm really excited for this season. This past sort of 2 weeks has really just kicked me back into life, you know. And I think it's kicked a lot of us back into life. Let's talk about the main thing. Wembley. Sheffield Wednesday played Barnsley, if you didn't know, in the League One playoff final. Jake, talk us through this match.
this game was awful. I'm not gonna lie, the game wasn't great. For a spectacle of how it's been, it was really bad. That first half, I thought we had a lot of the good chances, but again, typical Wednesday, not finishing our dinner. We just have this situation where we'll make chances and we don't finish them. And you're thinking on this kind of day, you want someone to do that, and it just didn't materialize. We had good chances, but the whole build up to it was really intense with how the media on Sky Sports were talking about it, and then you see the crowd and how intense it was there. It's like I've been told by a couple of people, some of the Barnsley fans weren't great, some of the Barnsley fans were great. It's like it was really weird to have this South Yorkshire rival here, and some people get into the proper spirit of it, going, it's a game, whatever happens will happen, we're still going to be mates at the end of it. Or the other side, where I hate you. You know what I mean?
It's, as I said, I've never had anything against Barnsley. I've always just said they don't really like us very much, and it's quite clearly evident. I had a bit more of an experience of he's one of my best mates, to be fair. So he messaged me afterwards going, you know what, fair play. It's really hard to lose with the last kick of the game, but over the season,
we had it with me.
You deserved it, and that's from a Barnsley fan. You know, that's being able to swallow that after that game. But I can imagine how cruel it was. Let's talk about the way the game sort of developed. And first of all, was it a penalty for Barnsley that they didn't get?
I still think it's a 50-50 ball. They're both going for the ball.
I think that's why it's not being given. It's one of those. I think, was it Mina in the Premier League who had a very similar one recently?
Yeah.
And there was, he didn't get it. And it's one of those where the question in VAR, but there has been examples of it in the Premier League quite recently where it's not being given in those situations. But I personally believe you could easily give that.
But then again, in the first half, there was a blatant pull on a shirt on Smith in the box.
Let's talk about specifically that incident. If we look at that incident in isolation, because I want to be fair, and then we will talk about the wider context. Is that potentially a foul in the box? Is it a foul in the box, Jake?
Depends on what day a referee. It's because I can see it from a Barnsley side, it being a foul because he did get his leg. But
he kicks him.
He did kick him, but he's going for the ball. I've seen a lot of people going, it's a very high boot by the Barnsley man. But if it was the other way round, we'd be all calling for a penalty.
Yes, and that's my point here. I think by the law of the game, it's a discretion-based one, and it wasn't given, and it shouldn't be overturned because it's not a clear and obvious error.
It was checked as well, though, wasn't it?
It was checked, and the thing is, was it deemed intentional? And that must be. I don't think it was deemed intentional.
No,
I think it was deemed as a coming together in a 50-50. You'd probably feel a little bit hard done by if it was on the other foot. And you know, you never know what happens with the penalty there. Does it turn around? What I do want to say is, yes, there was loads of shirt pulling that the ref let go. Yeah. So over the course of the game, I think that probably evens out because Smith was practically hugged and his shirt ripped off his back.
Every time Smith got the ball, they gave him a hug when he was backing into him. And the thing is, Smith is one of those players who was very much like Atty. He backs into the player. He backs in and gives an opportunity to give him a hug or pull the shirt. And the thing is, I thought the referee let the game flow quite well to a point. I don't think he was too stop-start. He understood what it was.
Yeah.
But I think it's a hard one to call that because when I originally saw it, I thought it was a 50-50 kind of thing. They're both going for the ball.
Well, I couldn't really see it from where I was, but when I've watched it back, that's where your opinion changes.
Yeah.
I think they'll be hard done by Jake, but at the end of the day, it's not like there's this big conspiracy like people are saying. It's not that, because these have recently not been given on VAR. Maybe that's an issue with the actual law of the game and the fact that they want some. Maybe those should be given all the time. Maybe that should be a thing, but it's happened recently.
Well, here's the question then. should VAR have been in the actual game itself then? When
Yes,
it's not
it should.
been used all season?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that specific foul. That specific foul with VAR in the Premier League has not been given at least twice in the last 3 months. I can't remember the other example. I wish I'd wrote it down, but Mina was definitely one of them, and there was another one, and I'm sure you'll be saying this in the comments now. There was one in the Premier League that was exactly pretty much that sort of challenge, and it wasn't given on VAR. They don't always happen.
No.
So I don't think they can be too hard done by with that, because you still got to turn it round, and losing your head and getting a red card. Now, do you think it was a red card?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know why? And it's not. If you look at one of the angles, you go, that's really soft. But then you actually look at it in context. If you look at it at full speed as well, by the way, that's part of it.
If you look at the angle where Gregory's facing the camera and the player coming in, the ball gone.
Yeah.
The ball completely gone. And
I think what's really unfortunate, I think it's an unfortunate red card in the fact that Gregory's on the stretch, but he gets the ball. And then the Barnsley player, because Gregory's already stretching for it and coming in quite late, the Barnsley player's so much later. And then he comes in, studs up, high foot. It's the way he launches off the ground. But the thing is, he did it at speed. And they can be really dangerous, them. You can't get away with them.
And again, it was VAR. They actually checked
the ref gave it. Do you know what I mean? And the ref saw it. This is what I'm saying. You look at that in full speed. You look at that challenge in full speed and you give it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the ref was right in doing so. VAR then had a good look at it. And when it's slowed down, it actually looks a little bit better. But you've got to... What slow motion does is it tends to take people out of the fact that was at full pelt. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's slowed down and it doesn't look like the impact and the velocity going behind it. But the fact that he went in so high with his studs up, it is a red, and I can see why that wasn't given as a clear and obvious overturn. If you look at it back, people can go, "Oh, that's soft." It's hard, when you look at one angle of it and you think, "How is that ever a red?" But then you look at but no, do you know what's annoying me, Jake? Is I'm seeing two angles of it. I'm seeing one angle where you literally see people going, "That's never a red," and then you flip it and turn it round, and it's a definite red.
Red, yeah. The commentators and the pundits were all saying it was a yellow at Mo, but it's like, to be fair to Barnsley though, but they didn't let that affect them, because in the second half, after that red, it actually sparked them a little bit.
They were harder to break down.
They were harder to break down. They were having shots all over the place. That shot that hit the bar, I thought that was going in. They had a really good opportunity. Norwood made a massive menace of our defence. He was the worry when he came on. When he came on, I was very worried, because he got that his ability to wind players up but get into good positions and pick up little fouls and stuff. And in that second half, I think the red card was a turning point to the whole game. But I think it was actually a turning point for Barnsley, not us, because we didn't take advantage of that. We stepped back. I think we were very much still at the mindset, if we can get this extra time, we could win this. Because we didn't attack well at all. Really,
the problem I noticed in that game is the fact that we were struggling. We've been struggling with this recently, especially in the second balls and the second balls dropping for us.
Yeah.
First touches going awry, and then I think it was interesting because I watched the behind the scenes stuff, and Darren Moore was saying very much you take two touch and out. It's two touch football. Take it, shift it. So it's one of those things where, when you're not getting those second balls and we're not managing to actually latch onto them, and it's not falling right and nothing seems to be falling in the nice area for us, it was sort of a culmination of we're not playing very well and now nothing is falling for us in terms of actually being able to get a hold of this game. And then you'd make a few dodgy passes, and I just remember the nervous energy in there. Right, there was so much. I was sat at some point and I was like, "Oh, I think we were quieter than we needed to be at some points, because we were so nervous as a fan base."
Yeah, it was every time they got the ball as well. They had so much speed. You were very worried about our back four or back three or whatever it was at the time, because it changes so often. Getting actually in that position, because we know one of the things we struggle with this season is if a team runs at us, we're screwed. Because there's only Iorfa and probably Palmer at the back who can actually get back and defend that. And I thought Iorfa and Whitway were absolutely amazing at the back. It shows you how much we missed Michael Whitway during most of the season. Because I think when Hennigan and him was in... Because the thing is, a lot of people have forgotten about how good Hennigan and McGuinness were first bit of the season. They had a really good rooted partnership. And if you actually look at what we've done, if you look at the clean sheet record, you look at the point total... that whoever been in front of that back three, back four has not had a consistent set of players there. It's been changed constantly. And I think that credit to Darren Moore and the team around them, that they got that mental shift to go, it doesn't matter that you haven't got a set lot who are in front of you every time. You know whoever steps up is going to step up and be in that position and play that kind of football. I thought when we were going forward, we did hoof it a lot, but when you look at it, Smith, we don't play to Smith's strengths. If you're making him doing the running, it's not his strength. He's the person you want to be in the box.
Andy was saying to me, why have we signed Smith and he ends up out on the wing? You know, in the game when he shifts out. And I was like, that's pretty accurate, actually, to be fair.
He's done that all season, though. If you actually look, Smith does tend to venture to that right wing and be a crosser instead of an actual goal scorer. At full time, you're looking at this and you're going, have we just conserved our legs? Because we did look knackered. We looked absolutely shattered. I was worried that the Peterborough game had used too much of the legs. We did everything to get into that game and get to here. Did we just use too much steam? But as soon as that first part of extra time went, we were a different team. We were making chances.
That's what I feel like it was the challenge of trying to ride out that first half of extra time and then just sit in till the end. But even before that, Jake, when Barnsley were like 3-on-1 and they came through, or it might be 3-on-1, 3-on-2, I can't remember because I had to look away. Do you know when it went to the left-hand side of the goal? And I was like, oh, God. I literally turned away. I went, it's here. This is the typical Wednesday moment. They're going to score now and then it's killed us. And then that is one of the worst misses under pressure I have ever seen.
It's so bad. You know what I kind of like about it? I just love that in a kind of housery is that all the stuff Barry Bannon's missus got on Twitter, he was the player that missed it and she was the one who went, who? Luca who? I just love how that was the whole situation without even knowing. But as soon as that happened, you're like, you look at Dawson, he's in no man's land. It's an open net. He got this. You're like, oh, God, this is where it goes wrong.
That's it. I actually didn't look, right? Because I just looked away. I sort of did this. I looked at the floor, turned my head and went, right, that's in. And I was ready to see the Barnsley fans just
celebrating.
Go. And then I heard everybody's just sort of sigh of relief and even like a cheer when they missed it. And I just looked up and I was like, it was the inhale of breath. Like, how have we gotten away with that? I thought it would, because Sheffield Wednesday has a narrative behind it, you know. You do so well, have comeback of the century in the semi-final, and then you go and do that. Yeah. And I thought that was the moment. But yeah, again, it was more of a case of have we already thought we'd won? It was one of those things that there's so much pressure coming behind that we were definitely a team under pressure, and then Barnsley really tried to play into that underdog role. Not forgetting they've done the double over us this season, right? They really tried to come out and, we're going to do our talking on the pitch, even though they were doing enough flapping beforehand. And it was one of those things where I did have a lot of nervous energy around it.
That chance was a identical chance of their fourth goal where we were going for it at Oatwell and they just got us on the break. And I think that's what they were trying to do, draw us into that kind of, we're going to go for it, you're going to go for it, and we're just going to hit you on the counter. Now, come to the second half of extra time, the players they hit another gear. Barry Bannon, bless him, was trying his best to be out there. He was so trying to run off that cramp, and he just couldn't.
He was gone.
Now, he was gone, and you could tell he was absolutely gutted to come off. But the player who comes on, Fizz, who we've all turned around and said, he's off in the summer, we think he's going to go, we can talk about that in a couple of days' time with whatever happens, actually stepped up and made a big difference for the goal. But before that, the best disallowed goal ever. Oh, I feel
you
so
see, that's
sorry
the
for
thing.
Volks.
I knew. I know it was great. He did the backflip and everything, but I knew because it was one of those things that the way we'd broken on that, I'd watched Hunt stray offside because I was on that side.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, please don't pick up the ball there. And obviously he picks up the ball there and then we go on and score from it. But I know we've got VAR there. So even if the flag, no, but I knew there was VAR there and I knew that was offside because I'd been watching him. Because I'd been watching players at that point because when they were that side of the pitch, I was watching if they stayed on side because Smith kept like hanging off upside. And I was like, you do realise we've got VAR. We're not going to get away with the tight ones, guys. So please get on side. That's what I kept thinking whenever they were on that half of the pitch. And I saw Hunt do it. And then I saw the other side erupt. But I kind of went, yeah. Yeah. That was because he was like, oh, what a strike. But then
I celebrated it. And then I was like, oh, no. Because I thought, like, oh, no, they don't know yet. They don't know yet. And the thing is, I actually did like Volks and Jack Hunt on the parade bus. Any chance of you staying on side next time? I thought that was hilarious. But
yeah, no, it's great.
You go into that end bit of the game where you're looking at it. They have a chance, and you're like, right, we've just got to go for it. Dawson hits that long. Fizz does really well to get hold of it and then dummy it a little bit. That turn from Gregory to trick the defender. And then the ability to just get that cross in once you know all the legs are gone. And then Josh Windass, and I know I said in the past he's got no pace, but comes in with his speed merchant that he is and gets on the end of a flying Dutchman header, which beats the keeper. I've just not known an eruption from me in a long time where I thought the playoff game was special when I went mental. But that felt even more special because it's a player who hadn't got into the game at all. It's a player who's had his criticism from some people about not celebrating and stuff, and by God did he celebrate that. For it to be Gregory, this person that people gone, oh, he's too old, we should get rid of him, who legs, in his words, had gone. So he ran to the other side. There was no way of chasing Josh. Sod that, I'm going to go celebrate with the others. There's something about how this all came together, last kick of the game, and it goes back to this whole situation that we've seen from Darren Moore week in, week out, in every single press conference. I believe in this squad of players. This squad of players believe in me. This team believe in each other. If you can believe that you got that kind of spirit to go at it, full pelt, when people have questioned the team in the past, and then pull that out with the last kick or header of the game in this case, and win, says something that is very special about this team, which just to see those celebrations, and I can't imagine what it was like being there, because everyone who was there, well done for going, you outsold our allocation. It's things that you won't ever forget, but the people like Dex and Lee who had done the match day vlogs so people can go back in history and go, that's what it was like. You can show people what it was like.
It's one of those things I try to get, because I didn't have, as I said, I don't film just match footage. I only film certain set pieces and things like that because I want to be in the game as much as possible. Because I'm not there just to vlog. I'm there as a fan. There was plenty of people who went as a neutral perspective, mainly in the Barnsley end, that did that did neutral perspective vlogs. I'm not I'm not necessarily a vlogger. I'm a Wednesday fan who likes the occasional vlog, which is why I did something a bit different. But I did get the camera out after we'd scored, so after with the initial celebration, so the initial eruption when it was sort of still coming, it was still loud, but it wasn't that initial noise. And what that initial noise was, and I don't think this came across well when I've watched the footage back, it wasn't a cheer. It was a scream.
It was a scream.
It was like, and the screams that came out of me, it was like this primal sort of roar and scream from people, because it wasn't like your usual, sort of like, that deep sort of bellow that ripples up through. There was a higher pitch to it. And there was like an actual desperation, sort of as if that's just happened. What it was a noise that I've not heard before. It wasn't like the rupturous, like eruption of cheering that you got during the Peterborough stuff and the aggression that was in that. It was more of a case of disbelief and utter sort of.
I think it was
just
a case of what did we just watch?
Yeah,
and I think, but I've got someone who keeps leaving comments on my channel. It's really funny because the last two ones he watched, he said, "What's your heart, young man? You're over celebrating. What's your heart?" And I replied back, I might be able to calm down a little bit for the next couple of days, but it still, even now, it still hasn't properly sunk in that we managed to do this epic comeback of proportion that nobody in playoff football have ever seen. The thing is,
and we followed it through. We didn't do.
Yeah.
It's like people saying, "Oh, Leicester, Watford, that were better." They didn't go up.
No. It's that whole thing where we followed it through, and as soon as that full-time whistle went, you saw the reaction from the players. You saw the reaction from Darren Moore, which was very muted, to be fair. Darren Moore is so humble. I love how humble he is and how he just goes about it as it's. He didn't seem to see it as a big thing until like everything he's heard. It just like goes, "It's my job. It's what we do." I think personally behind the scenes they'll be like, "What did I just do?
Palmer said he's one of those. Palmer was saying in one of his interviews that he's one of them. That it's a cliche in football, but Darren Moore is one of those managers that he didn't say the cliche part. I said that he is one of those that doesn't get too high on the highs and too low on the lows. And I think that shows in the fact that he's got that composure. And I think that a lot of the people who don't like Darren Moore, where have you gone, by the way? Wait until the new season and we have a couple of iffy results.
Seeing that massive grin on Darren Moore and finally knowing he doesn't have the nearly man tag and it was with us made me so happy.
But it's one of those things that the people who question him, I think they don't like the fact that he is that balance. He does bring that calmness and that balance because he doesn't throw all the toys out of the pram if something goes completely wrong. And sometimes you want that passion. You want that, don't you? And you're like, oh, well, why isn't he going and screaming about the players and things like that? But the way he's done that and brought them around and brought the belief around, it's different.
But look at that inside match day footage where they've shown him in the huddle where he's going at. We don't see that because he only says that for players. The fact that we've seen that now, maybe some people will get off his back and go, this is what he's actually like, kind of thing. It was dig deep, let go for the second half, push on. The thing is that what got me as well, seeing Barry Bannon going, having to get told by like a security, get down now. Can you get down? Like, it's like, no, sod off. And the fact that I've heard the Ati Newhugh commentary of it as well, just everything just came together. Yeah. The person who called it with the whole 15 years since his dad did it. There's so many little stories in there that one day there's going to be some really good stories from those players about this season. And it's going to be interesting.
In my opinion, it's the best way we've ever done it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously also, it is. I don't think that's a controversial, but like it beats the Cardiff one. It beats.
Well, hang on. The Cardiff one and this one, both last kicks of the game. Yeah, but I think because of the course of the playoffs and the semi-final there, this one edges it for me. It's also a case of it even beats Wickham, I think. I know that there was a lot in that with the United sort of way of doing it, but this is something special because it's coming back from that sort of adversity and bringing that togetherness. It's also coming back from a situation where the club's not been great off the field and finally seeing everything align a little bit more is better. Seeing Chansiri when he got that trophy, it wasn't a case of him not knowing what to do. It was more of a case of him going, this isn't mine, this is theirs. I'm not bothered about it for myself. Even though you could tell all the players were trying to get him into that kind of, this is yours as well. He's like, no, I've done my bit. You've done the bit that needed to be doing on the pitch. And I think Chansiri got that really good situation where it shows that he cares. And this is what everyone has said. We said it from since we've done this podcast and before we even did this man does give a hoot about
he cares.
He cares.
Chansiri has always cared, and we've always said his heart's in the right place. We've called him out on certain decisions. We've called the season ticket thing out and stuff like that. We've called certain situations out that might just be a little bit... We've understood the reasoning behind things, but that doesn't mean that we haven't understood where he's coming from. And I, for one...
That hug with Barry Bannon and Liam Palmer with gritted teeth just shows everything for me.
I, for one, actually think that we need, as a general fan base, no matter what your opinions were, this is a fresh start now.
Yeah.
Right? We have got another chance in the championship. It reminds me a lot of when he took us over. Okay? It's almost as if we've got a reset on that. Not fully. There's still things to work out. But what he's been saying since is really interesting. He's been talking about, we'll go for it, but he's not getting too carried away with it. He's been talking about how we've been doing the gradual improvements. And what is fantastic is everything we have been saying on this podcast about how we need to improve things and bring certain things in, we have started drip feeding that. Like, we have brought, and Chansiri was talking how we've improved the stadium and things like that. I can imagine the training facilities are going to be a thing that gets looked at. He's going to do things bit by bit. And that is why you want a chairman that's with you for a certain period of time. Yeah. That is why, because they have the development time with you.
This is the one thing, like Liam Dooley, there was an interview with Liam Dooley, and he basically turned around and said, we're probably looking at possibly like burying holes into the ground so we can get the water from the River Don as an irrigation system for the pitch. So we save money that way. We've looked at maybe doing solar power. They are looking at things off the pitch to get it done, but it's not going to happen overnight. That's the thing. Anything they do is going to take time and figuring it out. Like Josh Windass thing, people took everything Josh Windass said out of context about hopefully things off the pitch will be better kind of thing. And I think he's saying we just need to get some of the stuff in the training ground improved, bits like that. And you look at what we will be able to do. Like, don't think that Chansiri's not going to spend money on players. He will. But I think there's going to be a lot of improvement behind the scenes that we don't see, but players will see. And that's the big one.
And yeah, Josh Windass did say something similar to that. It's we can get everything sort of in order and sort all the off-field stuff out as well. And I think, don't take that in the wrong way. He didn't mean it in that. I think he meant in terms of just generally getting us back where we need to be with facilities and things like that and having the freedom to spend. I will say, I think there was a general plan. I think that the plan was probably with Darren Moore to get... There was a basically we talk about not backing in January and things like that. I think there was a task from Chansiri and an agreement between him and Moore to
get me up and I'll give you what you need.
Yes, basically get us back to where we can. You're going to have to do this frugally, but we still do have a lot of good assets at this club that you can build around and do it a little bit more frugally on free transfers. Smaller bit of investment. It didn't work the first time. Okay, a tiny bit of investment next season. Let's do it. But if I'm going to keep this club sustainable and push us forward, then we need to be able to. You need to, in your remit, get me back to get this club back to the championship, and then I'll be able to put the plan in place. And I think it's been more of an overall plan and a longer term plan with Darren Moore and Chansiri than the sort of knee-jerk reactions when something hasn't happened, because Chansiri's early tenure was very knee-jerk and it was him developing the game and bad advice. I think this has been much more of a planned out effort, and I don't think we're going to see immediate success maybe this season. I think it's going to be one of those things that you make additions with and you add to. Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, you know what I love about what you just said there though? And it's something we discussed early on when we did the podcast. Long term.
Yep.
With Darren Moore, with Chansiri, there's a relationship there. You could see that relation. The thing is, when they were talking, even after the thing, there was part of me that was like, I don't think they were talking about the game. I think they were like, right, we can do this now. We can do this now. They seem like the kind of blokes that don't like sitting still for too long. They like to get things done. Like we got the whole thing over the next couple of days. We'll have our retain list, hopefully either today or tomorrow. But I think there've been things in place by them and they talk well. And the thing is, there's a real keep building on this belief. Like Darren Moore said, it's like, this is just the start. I came into a broken club. It was broken. I was here for 3 days and I knew that it was broken. It taken him at least 2 seasons to fix that. One of the things we got in the squad of players, which will not be something that I think he'll take lightly, there's not many egos. There's arrogance, but there's not many egos. And the thing is, Darren Moore, when he was West Brom manager, when he came down from the Premier League, bear in mind they had parachute payments. They paid $8 million, I think, for Sam Johnson, the rest with frees and loans. There are still a hell of a lot of good free players we can get to the club. And if a player does not want to come to the club after watching Peterborough or the final, they need to give the head a wobble.
Yeah.
And that sounds really arrogant, by the way, not meaning to. It's just, why wouldn't you want to play for that?
I think that's the thing. Whatever you can say about tactics and things like that, personally, I disagree. I've had conversations about this recently. I do think he's started to develop more of a plan B and he's got a different way of doing things. But I think man management is very, very vastly overlooked in the modern game. And his man management is everything. It's the key to his management style. It's the confidence and the belief in the players. I hate to use Ted Lasso analogy, but it is one of those things that like it is the belief and I've seen people mentioning that recently. But yeah,
look at the changing rooms at the ground, at our ground. Then look at the Wembley thing. They took all the sticker things off that said believe, composure, in it for yourself, and shoved it round it. Tom, who's the sports psychologist, has been in nearly all the photographs I've seen, it's been him and Barry Bannon or him and Palmer or him and someone else. That man seemed to have done so much for the squad in just giving them that belief, turning around and saying, this is what we need. There's a structure now at the club that feels like it's going in the right direction. And as much of people, whatever the reason for not liking Darren Moore or whatever else, the man has got to where he said he was going to get us. It might have taken him 2 seasons, but he got us out of here. He said he would get us out of here. He said he wouldn't let things happen like it did last time. Granted, we have still got things where maybe if we were a bit, depending how we're doing, maybe we would have sold Fizz to Blackpool. But if that happened, you don't have the situation that happened now. These things will take time.
Right, I want to quickly just ask you if you've got any more thoughts on Wembley before we move on, because I want to talk about some other bits in this podcast today. So, capping off the actual Wembley review and talking about the day, is there anything more you want to speak about this final?
Just the incredible support, belief, and how the players and the chairman, Darren Moore, have finally put some pride into this shirt after a lot of people thought that pride was long gone.
Yep, and it's interesting. Everybody wanted to try and take away the glory of what we actually did because of the way it transpired in the final. And to them, I just say, you have very short memories of how football works, right? And it will come back around. And can we just talk a little bit about the banter side of it and the fact that the certain fan bases can't seem to be taking what they give?
I think it was Curtis Woodhouse, the boxer, who turned around and said, this is what happened for the people who are on the phone complaining about Wednesday. It called banter, get over it. He did it to you, he's done it back. Big whoop.
Right, briefly, what I want to do now is I just want to, because the retain list is possibly out by the time this video even hits, right? Okay, and this podcast is out. However, it would be a good idea to get our thoughts beforehand, and then you're going to get the next podcast after the fact. Who do you think is essential on this retain list that is on this retain list of the expiring contracts, Jake? What are your thoughts heading into it?
There's some that I say we need to go, and then some that I say we definitely don't need to go, if that makes sense. That I'm thinking of the likes of probably a Jaden Brown. As much as he's been good, he's not going to be good enough for Championship. Good age, but he's not shown enough for me, you know what I mean? I think you look at Jack Hunt. I think Jack Hunt knows this is his final season with us, because I can't see... as much as he's been good, in the Championship, it's a different kettle of fish, and he'll just get...
Jaden Brown's 24, though, man. I know. It's one of those things where it's like, we can't talk about... Because let me find it. Somebody said to me...
Jaden Brown, if we can develop him more, would be great. But I don't know how we're going to... The thing is, if you bring Jaden Brown, he's 24. How many games is he going to get if we bring in someone else? Like, he has stepped up. Don't get me wrong. He stepped up a lot when we needed him.
I don't think... I personally think he's one of the younger ones you can go, but I can't... Where has it gone? There was somebody that said to me on... Oh, yeah, so... CB or Wayne on Twitter said, we can't have fans, this was on the Talking Wednesday Twitter, we can't have fans pushing for wanting young players to be signed and not be actually accepting that they still need to develop. We can't have it both ways. If we want young players, he was talking about Fizz here, the likes of him and Dennis, etc. have to stay. Maybe Jaden Brown doesn't fit into that because I'm not convinced. If we're try and sign Reece James and things like that, I can see him being one that gets released, to be fair.
Yeah.
But what about Fizz?
What about Dennis?
I want to talk about Fizz. I want to talk about Fizz first. So Fizz is the big one.
Fizz, I still think you give a contract for. There's a player there. There is a really
I've changed my opinion on this.
There's a really good player there with Fizz, and I think under Darren Moore's wing, he can get better. I think you put the right person in his ear to like get him playing well, because from what some people said, you've seen it with Barry Bannon said, like he's late for training at times and stuff. Like if you get that mentality side sorted, there's a player there.
He's 22.
He's 22. Yeah, I'm going to say he's 22. We can't be letting players like that leave for nothing.
I think it should be... I don't think it should be... I don't think we should be throwing money at him. I think it should be a case of, right, you've got 2 years here to prove yourself.
Earn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years with an option, you know?
Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens if he... Because the problem we have got is we're going to have players like Bannon leaving. Byers is obviously picking up injuries. Hopefully with his recent recovery, that can be something that gets permanently fixed and not something that keeps recurring. But having a younger player at 22, having time to develop under a manager who... Do you know what? I think the thing is, he was doing the head... He had the potential to do the head down. Oh, maybe we're not...
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't the right club for me. Maybe I should go off and I should chase the money, do a Liam Shaw, do it. And it's never worked out for them. Fizz is one of those players that if he keeps his ego in check, there is a player there. But he can't look at the wasted potential in football, right?
Yep.
Don't fall around that plan. I want to still talk about Fizz though, because he's the big one, Jake. You're got the puppy dog energy today. You keep jumping ahead.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you look at those two, they're both in 124, 122, right?
Yeah.
One has had a bit of an injury hit season. Fizz has to a point. If you're looking at development, you're going to try and develop Fizz more, but I think Dennis has already got the mental headstrong bit.
Adeniran for me is somebody, I do think you keep them both on. I don't, is Backinson out of contract?
No. He might be actually, you know.
I don't
was
think
he only a 1 year deal?
I don't know if he was, but he's the one that I don't think has worked here.
No.
I think Adeniran and Fizz, you potentially take a chance on as squad players. And they've got time to develop. Yes, you probably release Jaden Brown. I know Jack Hunt was saying that he doesn't feel like he's been given a fair shake, and he's still got a lot left to prove and show, and a lot left to offer. Sorry, not prove.
Yeah,
I don't think that's for us.
According to Yorkshire Live, Backinson got a 2 year deal.
Right. Okay. So that might be a case of seeing what. Well, that's when you think that probably one of the midfielders will go then.
Yeah.
Because of squad size. So it's possibly, does Adeniran fall by the wayside potentially?
Patterson's a definite yes for me, 100%.
Now as a utility player, yes.
Yeah,
I agree. Hunt is a no, purely because I just want to give him a bit of credit first because we've been saying like his legs have gone and things like that.
He's done really well the last two games.
He has. There's still a player there, and he's going to be immortalised in Wednesday history. And that he's always shown loyalty to us. To be fair, he never wanted to leave us in the first place, and then he came back to us and then inspired the contract. You know, we made money on him, and then he came back. I like Jack Hunt. I think he's actually a player that should be remembered very fondly in Wednesday history. However, we need to strengthen, and we can't be giving contracts in that position. I don't think we need new players.
We can't be sentimental. We have to be very ruthless with this. Marvin Johnson.
No, if he's getting played as a wing back. Yes, if he's not, because Marvin Johnson is instrumental in a lot of the attacks we make. But he's not going to get played as a left midfielder. Yeah,
if he's a winger, fine. And much of these adapted into wing back.
Potentially as a squad player. But it depends. But we're going to have to throw a lot of players forward, and I think Darren Moore's going to want to play him as a wing back.
This is so hard as well.
Yeah, it is because he is really good. He's one of them players that on his day is really good, but his day isn't always there, and we've taken a step up to the next level. So it's possibly swaying more towards a no.
Lee Gregory.
I've changed my mind on this. I was going to say no, but as a bench player, yes. But it depends if you take a bench player.
If he'll take a bench player, possibly. But
I'd give him a year if he's happy to sit on the bench.
He said he would sign whatever we throw in front of us. Front of him if we can.
He's not quick enough. But his vision is great, and he's a great finisher. Yeah. But I can't see a season with him and Smith and that being played in the same team. We need a new attack. But our depth is so bad at the minute. Player like that, I would potentially give another year to sit on the bench, but I do think we might release him as well.
Stockdale, I want him to stay just for the laughs.
He's not. I don't think he's going to. I
think he might retire.
I really like Stockdale. I think he's brought some life into Wednesday, and he's brought some, he's brought some character into Wednesday, and I love his Twitter antics and things like that. But I think, in terms of playing staff, I'd want to find him somewhere in the club. We've got a lot of coaches, so I don't know if he'd be a goalkeeping coach or something, but something.
He could go under 21s, under 18.
Haven't we got Weaver and stuff down there?
Yeah. So I mean, another might be good. Okay, loans. The loan players, Reece James and Flint. I'm saying yes to James.
Yes. It's interesting with Flint, actually, because Flint's probably, is it a clever one you sign for a year, and is he that one that comes and helps you? But now we've gone up. If the deal's right, I'd offer Flint a year. But I don't know if that's I don't think that's my head talking, to be honest. Because, like, if you look at the centre-backs available on frees, I'd probably take Flint over Harley Dean for what Flint's been solid for us. He's not the fastest, though. So I think Flint's one of those that, again, you maybe sign for depth, and you bring him on.
The experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I offers a yes for me, which is why potentially no on Flint. I offers changed. He's one of them players that, again, there is a player in there, and I think he's under the right manager to develop him. And I don't think he has great games sometimes, and his passing sometimes you're a bit like, what are you doing? But he's 27.
When he's on form, he's amazing.
Yeah. He's 27. He's about to be 28. He'll be 28 this month, actually. I think it's one of those where you go, Dom, do you fancy another year?
Yeah.
But we can't be giving big contracts to these players. That they need to show us they can prove something in the Championship.
The way we manage our retain list and the way we give contract to people is going to be very interesting, and it'll give you a bit of an insight where the club's going and how they're going. Darren Moore's already come out and said, I need a younger squad.
Yeah.
He's already come out and said, a younger squad I need. It's not a case of I need a younger squad. He knows this. Like, for Palmer for getting his contract triggered at Wembley, pretty impressive, actually, if that was the case.
So if we're talking about that, then he's probably not going to sign Flint. He's probably the Gregory. If you look at that realistically, Flint's not going to stay. Gregory, no, no Hunt for sure.
No.
Does he start transfer listing players? That's the question.
That's true.
Johnson probably not, because is Johnson 31 now? 32?
Yeah, no, 32.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of people turn around and say, are we going to transfer lift Michael Smith? I think Michael Smith in Championship would be actually really good with someone at the side of him.
I think you develop it around there. Yeah. And you actually start playing Wilkes as a bloody striker. Get him a good pre-season behind him and actually see what happens.
Also, for the people giving Wilkes stick on it, leave it alone. He plays a couple of games. He did actually get a goal. He just had a really bad injury hit season where he didn't come to the club fit.
No. He's 24 as well, and he's 23, 24. Yeah. So we want that sort of. I think we need to be really quick in this transfer market and pick up the Premier League frees and stuff early when the contracts expire. We need to be aggressive with it.
The player that I'm really annoyed on that we missed out on is De Silva.
Right, yeah.
Because he'd gone to Coventry. Bristol's... City? Yeah, City let him go. And he'd gone to Coventry.
I have a lot of suggestions, but this would make this podcast about 2.5 hours, so that's why we're going to split it a little bit. I know there's a lot of players that I think we could pick up, and we'll go into that a little bit more. We might talk about one slightly later just for fun. But I will say quickly, he's ruled out any talks of Mark McGuinness, but we have been linked with Mark McGuinness again. I think that'd be a fantastic one. We'll talk about him a little bit more next episode. This is a big news story, okay? So there's not a lot of news apart from the fact that we are, we're going to be in a bit. Yep, finances are going to be better. You're going to get like anywhere between like a couple of million, and I think it's like eight-ish million. So more money coming in.
It'll be 10 million come 24-25 because the TV deal's just been redone by Guy, hasn't it?
Fantastic. That will be great for the club. The big thing I want to talk about in terms of news is Sheffield Wednesday have released their home kit in a very, very cool way. So Sheffield Wednesday had a celebration parade. We've not even talked about that yet. So there was a celebration parade. When it got announced, right, did you go... I could say, because I feel like such a bitter old man for this, but I was like, why?
The part of me that went, why? But then there was the part of me that remembers 2012.
Yeah. But then I think you look back and go, actually, we need to make sure we celebrate these moments. So it's not like, you can't be all, well, that was the job anyway. We had to do that. You do have to sit and revel in it sometimes.
I think when you look at it and you actually look at the season, if we hadn't have celebrated this like we did in that parade, it would have been a travesty. Let's be honest.
When you look at the celebrations, and what came out of it, the fact is actually, if you're watching this, if I do get this podcast out on the Friday, there's still like on Friday and Saturday at the Megastore. If you go to the Megastore, you can have your picture with the trophy. I'm actually unavailable on those times. I would have loved to go and do that. That sounds so cool. But yeah, go and get a photo with the trophy at the Megastore if you want to go and do that. But let's talk about this home shirt. So it is a white collared shirt. Very similar stripes in terms of this season, in terms of the stripe layout. However, you've got a yellow stripe through the blue stripes, and you've got like this yellow trim. Yeah. What do you think to it? Because I am not convinced. It's growing on me, but I am not convinced. In terms of the layout of it with the white collar and that, I don't like white collars. That's my initial impression.
For one, the badge is too high already.
Yeah.
The badge is way too high. If they can make that come down a little bit, I'll be happier. I understand why people are saying it got a Brighton-esque feel to it, and I think that's because the gold bit running through it. That's why I think it got that kind of Brighton thing. I'm not going to lie, I really do like the sponsorship. If that is the actual company that's going to do it, bear in mind, the sponsorship is the same bloke is the founder of Wanna Disco.
So, some context, it's a software development company called A-Up, and it's a flat cap style. And the more I look at the way it integrates into the shirt, I actually really like it as well. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of what you're saying there about the fact that it's the person that had one disco. Is there an issue behind that? Maybe. So yeah, there might be some controversy around the sponsor, but I think it looks cool because there's some stuff going off on Twitter. We're going to actually do our due diligence on that, just so we don't get into all sorts of litigation things in case there is actually something. But it's in terms of the design, do you like it?
Yeah, I do like it. It's growing on me.
I think it works really nicely with the shirt. It's like because the way that it's a blue flat cap with the whiter trim and then the A up sort of. I think it's just simple. And I do enjoy it. I also do like people literally pointing out to me, and this happened multiple times. Oh, can't you see? It says the playoff winners on it. It's clearly not next season's home shirt. And I was like, you do realise that can be removed. There is still a chance it's the home shirt. And then Wednesday go and announce that it's the home shirt for next season. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the way that there's a little V in the in the collar of the blue, the middle blue stripe that goes weird. Down. Yeah.
I thought someone said that you weren't allowed stripes on the back this season. I thought I read something like you're not allowed stripes on the back, which I thought was weird.
That sounds like it would be fake.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
At the end of the day,
I think in terms of a kit, I wonder how it'll fit this one. It's like it looks like it would fit slightly nicer than the other ones, but then football shirts are always deceiving because I do not have the body of a footballer. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, bucket hats galore at those celebrations with the new shirts. Let's quickly just talk about a little bit of the new the celebrations. Then what did you enjoy seeing come out of the the town hall celebrations?
Dale being the drunk uncle.
Yeah.
Of everyone's wedding. He was smashed. I think watching the interviews as well, watching all the player kids just playing football in the Sheffield City Hall, I thought was quite interesting, watching like the set up nets and stuff. But it was just seeing players who have either been there and done it before with Palmer, but it felt different. Even he said they felt different. It was so nice to finally let Bannon have that moment, and that he could enjoy it with his young family. Seeing Elsie Bannon singing the Barry Bannon song was heartwarming. Yeah. I thought it was a really nice moment.
I liked his singing later on after he was smashing out and about, singing the chants back at the pigs and shouting out and singing he sang the Dingles thing, and I was like that. Like, I wasn't expecting that, right? And I don't usually buy into that sort of stuff, but I did chuckle because I was like, oh, mate. I don't get involved with that sort of stuff because it's not worth it usually. I might have the odd joke, but it's so funny, Jake. It was so funny.
But the thing is, he's so bought into it. And
it's more the bites, Jake. It's people going there. I saw something like, oh, I don't think your manager, who was a Barnsley player, will think too much kindly about this. And Darren Moore will have to be speaking with him. I'm like, mate, we've just beat you in a playoff final. I don't think we're going to be thinking too much about that. I don't think it's going to be a professionalism thing. Barry Bannon has deserved a moment like this with the Sheffield Wednesday fan base for a long time, and keeping this banter. Have that between the players, There's always banter between the fans, and it gets nasty between the fans sometimes. And I wish it was more of a case of like the players sort of actually were up for it and had a bit of, because then it reduces the nastiness and it becomes more about banter than just pure bile all the time,
Yeah. It's nice to see. The thing is, Barry Bannon went on social media for a while because of the whole banter thing, and it was just, he said it was getting too much for him. I'm getting off. The fact that the thing is, there's a lot of people who turn around and said, "Oh, you shouldn't be saying that." Oh, he's Bruce living rent free in your head. It's like, why did he have to say anything? He could have just enjoyed his moment and not done it. It would have been fine. But he decided to go there, and if our captain isn't allowed to say back to him, then there's something not right. The thing is, if you're not going to allow players to get into the rivalry with your rival, what's the point of having a rivalry?
Exactly. Yeah, I loved it, and I want to see more of it, and I'm going to watch more of it as more and more clips come out. But I'm so happy for the players. Like, this squad of players are going to be very fondly remembered no matter what happens.
They deserve it
in the near future, and they do deserve it. They've come back. Do you know what? They've come back from getting chanted, "You're not fit to wear the shirt," to being remembered by these Wednesday fans forever. And that's a legacy that they will leave. And they needed that. We needed some more stories. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time since we've had something to be happy about.
We needed the positivity as well. We needed the positivity just for other fan bases. And
we've beat the Wembley thing as well, because like obviously last time we've been terrible at playoffs we've been terrible at playoffs for a while. So we've kind of gotten over that hurdle now, and that's going to be a big thing when you're pushing forward, knowing that we've done it before. If we get to the championship playoffs and the likes of that, that'll be something half decent for us. Right, there has to be a speculation topic. Okay.
Yep.
It's that season. It's that season. I'm going to throw this one at you, even though I don't really believe it. But the more and more people talk about it, it makes me think, oh, it could happen, couldn't it? Probably not. Jamie Vardy.
Oh, I'm going to be really bad here. I'm going to be really bad here and say no.
What?
As much as I like the redemption arc. If you're going down the thing that you just turn around and said Darren Moore needs younger players, going for Jamie Vardy doesn't fit the remit.
Get in the bin. Are you joking? There's an exception. He needs younger players, but it's Jamie Vardy. And right, okay, people are going, oh yeah, well, because people are saying, oh yeah, I could actually see it because he's not been great this season. Yes, he has played 37 times in the Premier League, made 42 appearances overall. Yes, he scored 6 goals, but that is in the Premier League. Yes, his legs might have gone a little bit, but he's not been the first choice. There's other players in that Leicester side that have been above him, and he's 33. He's 36 years. 36. He's 36.
He's going 37 when he comes
in January.
Like, January time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's 6 months.
I understand this, but if the remit, we just turned around and said, Darren Moore want to bring in younger players, it doesn't fit. I'd love for him to come. I just don't see it. Can you imagine what his wages would be?
I don't think he does it as a payday. If he does a payday, right, he sees out his Leicester contract because I think he's got another year.
If he's not going to do it as a payday and he does it as a sentimental, I'm going to finish at my boyhood club, then brilliant.
Yes,
and
I think this
He'll be giving it all.
I don't think it will happen, by the way, but there's a perfect opportunity for it to happen. Have a season with Wednesday and see what you can do. Because if he took it, he could take a massively reduced wage packet here and just come and try and enjoy his football under a manager that I think he'd play really well under. And I think his experience and the lift it would bring to the club would be massive. Can you imagine all the players? Can you imagine? I know this is a proper behind the scenes financial thing. Shirt
sales, yeah.
Jamie Vardy comes in as Wednesday's number 9 for a season. They've got to look at the logistics behind it.
This is a player. He'd probably step up to that and enjoy it and going, right, I'm the big I am.
This is a player who last season, not the current one just gone, but the 21-22 season, scored 17 goals in 33 appearances. The season before, 17 goals in 42 appearances. Okay, you might say he's gone because he scored 6 in 42 this time, but it's more of a case of if he becomes it's dropping down a level as well.
Yeah, true.
Yes, his legs might not be the same as he was, but he's still not slow, right? He might struggle a bit on a Premier League platform, but bring him to the Championship platform, he for a year would be quality. You could probably get a couple out of him. And I don't understand the people that would and ah about Jamie Vardy. It's not like we're going to pay him 100 grand a week. At most, we'll probably pay him 18, 20k for a year. At most.
Yeah. It's the reason why I'm saying I just don't see it.
A week, obviously.
I actually don't see it. But
people are saying it'd be Jordan Rhodes all over again, but this is that's not it. That's not it.
Different level.
Completely. This would be a dream, right? This would be one of those things where I think it's also a case of being able to pull on that shirt for your boyhood club. And he's always talked about Wednesday fondly. He's always give it the big I am to Leeds and United. He's always had that side to him and that edge. He's always sort of had that banter with Harry Maguire when they were at Leicester about the Wednesday connection sort of thing. I do think there is a side of him that might just see it out at Leicester and go, you know what, because he might not be interested in coaching and things like that. But I think he's probably set for life. I don't think he needs to think about that, and I think he might enjoy coming to Wednesday for a season or two. And I have got a bit of sentimentality in that.
Can you imagine the howlery he would cause at Wednesday? Well,
thing is, he'd be playing Leeds for. There's a chance to play Leeds for Wednesday. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
The more you say it, the more you're selling it to me.
I know, right? Because it's one of those exceptions. Say you don't let...
He's the one that breaks the exception to the rule.
Yes. Say he goes for like... Say... All right, we might have to pay like 500k for him or something like that. There's going to have to be a fee involved. I don't think they'd let him go for free. Or do they let him go for free because he takes a massive wage reduction and he goes off whatever wages he's on at Leicester? There's options there.
Well, he got a contract. He signed a contract that set extension till the summer of 2024.
I know, that's why I said he's got another year. So do we give him a bit of cash for them? It's just make the inquiry Wednesday. See what the situation's going to be. See what his camp think. And if it's something that could possibly happen, you will never see Sheffield Wednesday erupt like that if you sign Jamie Vardy. But do not do a Jordan Rhodes. You ain't paying over $1 million for this man.
No.
That's ridiculous. Even for an advertising stunt, right? Do not pay him over 25 grand a week. Do not give him a stupidly long contract. If it works, it works. If it's a short term sort of year-long contract, 25 grand or less a week, he's your marquee signing. He brings a lift to the club, and then other players can live. Because one thing as well, he knows how to finish his dinner.
Yeah, he does.
And we need that, right? And bringing that in and that experience, and he's a Premier League winner.
Yeah.
It'd be huge for us.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where I can see Chansiri inquiring.
Yeah. Bring Harry Maguire back as well while you're at it. But not back, but back to Sheffield. He's actually a Wednesday fan deep down. They're going to give him 10 million to leave. He's not. That is a joke. This is FIFA territory now. But no, I could genuinely see that stranger things have happened in Sheffield Wednesday's world than that happening.
Going to be weird that Leicester are going to be back down and Leeds and Southampton. Do you know that there's only 4 teams in Championship that haven't had a Premiership appearance now?
Premier League appearance?
Premier League, sorry. They haven't gone to Scotland. Sorry, I misspoke then.
I didn't know that now. But it's this season's Championship's going to be mental. But Jamie Vardy would help us. Sign him. Let us know what you think in the comments. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I'm going to get so many comments about... stupid words.
So badly.
Yeah. Oh, this is pure clickbait. Oh, well.
I just can't wait for them. You said you want a younger, then you're going for 36.
The great thing about breakouts, though, mate, the long podcast viewers, hello, will know about that, but the others wouldn't if you hadn't said it. Now, but yeah, it's that'd be so exciting. But yeah, I think, Jake, because we're going to have so much to talk about next week, that is where I'm going to leave this week's episode, the promotion episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. Have you got anything to add before we...
I'll say it now. Today? If Vardy signs, when I do the kit review, I will put Vardy 9 on the back if he does. If he signs.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. The first thing I'm doing if Vardy signs is buying a Vardy 9 shirt. I will be
hang it out your window, aren't you?
I'll be a small boy again. Right? I genuinely will. It will happen. You might look at me going, oh, yeah. You do it too. There's that part in you. Listen to the high. That genuinely would happen.
You know the last player I got on the back of my shirt was?
I've never had one, but go on.
It was New Hugh.
Jesus Christ. I do love New Year, though. Legendary strikers at Wednesday. I can't believe I said that. Pellets for that. Yeah, no, I will just add that the last thing I've got to say on this one before we wrap it up, if that was your last thing, is I've learned that my dad watches this now. So, hi, Dad.
Hi, Dexter's dad.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I just thought I'd bring that one into the podcast because he's just started being able to. He's been able to quote some of the things that we talk about. Go on then.
You are not allowed to go to a Wednesday shirt a game anymore without wearing big P shirt every time it brings you luck.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I might test that theory and not wear it to the start of the season and see if there's a big game that we need it. Maybe I'll wear it to Leeds or something like that.
Oh yeah, that'll go down well. That'll be not a hot day.
Yeah, oh God. But yeah, that's been it for episode 120, the promotion episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See ya.